Good evening and welcome to tonight's council meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First thing I'll ask for is agenda changes.
Mr. Mayor, under item E, new business, we'd ask that number 6 be added to the agenda, which is a funding request from the Halstead Land Bank. And then under section F, the executive session, we can remove the attorney-client privilege executive session. I believe anything Brad says tonight can be discussed in open session, so. And those are the only changes we have.
Council, any questions of those changes? All right, I'll open up for public forum now. If there's anybody here wishing to address the council that's not on the agenda. Seeing no movement in the gallery, I'll go ahead and close the public forum and ask for the approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, after reviewing the consent agenda as submitted, I would make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, that takes us to unfinished business, and the first item is a distressed property at 126 East Third. Is this an official public hearing for that property, Ethan?
No, I think it's just general discussion.
So it's a status update on that property.
Yep. And I don't have anything, so I will turn it over for Brad.
We've talked about this and I think struggled for some time to ascertain who is actually officially or who's willing to accept ownership of the property, and that continues to drag on. When Ethan and I talked about it today,
This is the townsman.
oh, I'm sorry, I've got it backwards. That's 603. On 126 East Third, I've talked again with Jeremy, and he has sent an email confirming the general nature of the agreement. I sent one back and have been trying to reach him. He may have been gone for Thanksgiving because he didn't respond yet today either. Regarding the written format of that, the structural engineer has completed the inspection from his last email over here.
Really?
Yeah, and I asked for a copy of that and didn't get a response yet. But wanted that to be shared here, and I don't know that there's an issue with that, obviously, but I didn't get it as of today, so I don't have it to distribute. As to the other property, I think both in principle and in pragmatic terms, we have agreement. The only thing that I want to do, and I think is consistent with what the governing body and staff wanted, is to be able to get inside of it first before we sign this agreement. And they didn't have an issue with letting us inspect, but I wanted that in writing as well.
Yes.
And I don't have the return signed one by Ozzy. So I guess the thought is, and in talking with Ethan, this could go on indefinitely if we don't do something. So my thought is I will get a hold of Jeremy, or either get a hold of him, or several days will have passed by Thursday or so this week. I'm just gonna go forward with the administrative warrant, and we'll proceed on, because I don't see a reason to wait. There's no
Right.
reason to have it if they're giving us consent, but we don't have it yet. So it's been another, 2 weeks? So I think at this point I'll go that route if that's acceptable.
Yep.
I think, in my opinion, we need to make it very clear to them that we intend on, if we accept this alternative offer, then we want to close on that property prior to Christmas. And if they can't make it happen by then, we're going to continue down the road we've been going down.
Okay.
Council agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Because I know we gotta put a deadline on him, or he's gonna keep dragging his feet.
I don't disagree.
Okay.
Okay,
Well, we'll move on to the distressed property at 603 Spruce. Now you can talk about that one.
do you want me to take that again?
Yeah.
Again, Ethan and I talked about that one, and I think in terms of the staff's perspective, it's gotten to be kind of frustrating because nobody wants to accept ownership of this. Well, that's a simple solution, which is what I was explaining. We take what the county has of record. Whoever that is it. And even if they say, well, I don't care, I don't own it, well, yeah, you do. Legally, you do. Taxes were paid as of 3 years ago. We're into the third year now where they are not paid, but that's still 2 years away from a sheriff's sale. Don't want to wait that long anyway. So I called as soon as Ethan and I got off the phone today and requested an updated a limited title certificate. All that does is tells us that they also say what the registrar says, this is who owns it. And then the recommendation is to go forward with the distressed property proceeding, and if we, get to the end of the road, which it appears we will, take it down. And then put the lien against the real estate and go from there.
Have we ever gotten any information back as far as an open mortgage or anything on that property?
And again, on the limited, they will list both owners of record and any interested party, and that includes mortgage holders. So that if there is anyone still of record who hasn't properly released, I can contact them for a release, force a release if there's not, it's gone, it's stale. And any of them that are still valid within the statute of limitations will notice up. And their interest will be foreclosed as soon as we complete the proceeding here if they don't show up and contest.
Oh, Julie, if you've gotten any further email.
She did. Karen responded to me today, said that she was still waiting on the results to come back on the title search, but it should be any day. So,
Yeah, because that's quite a while on a title search.
Do we need any formal action as far as tabling this matter or anything, Ethan, or?
I'd say just,
As long as the proposed outline of what we're gonna do is acceptable, I don't think there's anything more that you need to do at this point.
no, we'll just add it back to the agenda. Further action on it, or need further
Okay.
action.
Sounds good to me. We all in agreement? Anybody have any questions?
Good with it?
All right, well, let's move on to some new business this evening. The first thing is a consent annexation petition. Ethan will bring us up to par on that.
Thank you. Basically, there's a petition for annexation on the recently closed property, or, the Tebow property, as we've been calling it, there to the south and west. Adjacent to city limits, as the city has closed on it, we're now the owners. And as such, we can do a consent petition for annexation to ourselves. Annexing this into city limits is recommended by both our legal counsel as well as our bond counsel. So the first step in that is basically the governing body or the city council authorizing the mayor's signature on that petition. For those of you that might remember, last year we did a similar process for that section of Williams Park that we figured out had never been officially annexed. It's pretty easy, just the mayor technically can't sign without your all's permission to do it. If there's any specific questions, I will gladly try and answer it. And this does tie into,
Well, I was noticing on this document, it's got Denise Tebow's name on here.
oh, yep, sorry, that was a draft.
So
We'll
that-
have him sign the right one, but yeah, it would
Yeah.
actually say.
Okay, just so I figured that was the case because Dennis's name is at the top of this document. So I'm thinking it's just something that just got passed over. So at this point, we need a motion, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve the mayor's signature on the landowner's petition request and consent for annexation into the city of Halstead, Kansas for real property owners by the city of Halstead.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for me to sign this consent annexation petition. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign. All right, looks like I'll have some work to do. And next, we have an ordinance associated with that too.
So the second part in this process would be for us to actually pass the annexation ordinance, officially annexing the property. I will note, one, the council would need to make action to actually accept the consent annexation petition from ourselves, as kind of redundant as that sounds. And then to then make a motion to approve ordinance 1338, which is the annexation ordinance. Again, it's just only includes the property that we purchased. And as I noted in the agenda memo, we will still, before the end of the year, have to do like an annexation boundary and get some documents to the county to fully finalize annexing. But this officially starts the process of bringing that in. So.
With that, Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve ordinance number 1338, an ordinance annexing, I'm sorry?
You want to accept the petition first and then
Okay.
pass the ordinance, sorry.
All right, pass that up.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion to accept the consent annexation petition from the city of Halstead.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the consent annexation form. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign. That passes. Now you can go, George.
And with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 1338, an ordinance annexing land here into the city of Halstead, Kansas.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 1338. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That ordinance stands as approved. That takes care of all that, correct, Ethan?
Yep.
All right, next on the agenda, it looks like, we have Sam here to ask for some funding for some improvements at Wedgewood Golf Course. Step on up, Sam.
Council, Mayor, thanks for letting me come speak tonight on improvements at Wedgewood Golf Course. So over the last 2 years, we've seen a large increase in play, tournaments, and membership. So as we sit right now, we're sitting right under 25,000 rounds played so far this year, which is on par from last year, just a little bit over. Tournaments, we've hosted 23 tournaments this year, which is 5 more than we hosted last year. And we set a record with tournaments this year. We also set a record with membership this year at 125, which is 9 more than last year. So everything just keeps moving up so far, and we're seeing a lot of play from a lot of different areas of Kansas. So in your packet, you'll see a number of pictures with writing below describing what we want replaced and fixed at the golf course. The main aspect of this whole thing is to make everything safer, make everything flow a little bit easier, not just for us, but for the people playing. So there's 4 different aspects of this improvement that we want to do, but they're all going to be completed at the same time. There's just 4 different things. And the first one is add curbing. So in the pictures you're going to see, we want to add curbing from the beginning of the cart path at 1, go to the end of 1 tee box, wrap around the 9 green, and come back to the tee box on 1. What that's going to do is it's going to keep golf carts from driving behind 1 green, behind 1 tee box, in front of 1 tee box, behind 9 green, behind the putting green there at 9. The problem that we're having right now is golf carts have caused a lot of damage. We reseed that twice a year just to try to keep grass growing, but with the amount of cart traffic through there, we don't have a way to stop it. This would be a way to stop that. The second aspect is to replace the broken concrete. In those pictures, there's a lot of broken concrete, and that's just from years of wear and tear, just normal wear and tear. There's also, because of how our irrigation system works, how there isn't a lot of drainage in that area, water sits on that cart path. Well, so we tried going out, we've moved irrigation heads, we've replaced heads, we've nozzled down, nozzled up to try to get it to work without doing a lot of work. And we found out that if you nozzle down or nozzle up, we'll lose the putting green to dry spots just because it'll die because it's not getting the water. And fixing that concrete will also fix the trip hazard and fall hazard that we currently have with how broken those pieces are. The third aspect is add a tournament staging area and turnaround area. So there's an open grass area between the 2 cart paths. It's circled on one of those pictures. I would like to concrete all that so we can have a place to line carts up to stage before tournaments. And what that means is we park carts out there, we put the names of the players on the carts. They know where they're going. It shoots them off in the direction of the hole that they're going to. Currently, our staging area is behind 6th green in the grass. But what that has done is it has caused ruts back there. It's harder to grow grass back there because it's all trampled. And the other staging area is our parking lot, and it's not very big, so we'd have people not being able to park in our parking lot, which causes problems. The turnaround area with the new carts, they're bigger than what they were 40 years ago. So the turning radius is not as good. And Wedgewood started off with 3-wheel golf carts, so they were able to make these hard turns. Well, now the carts aren't able to make that turn. They're driving through the grass. They're cutting it all up. They're killing the grass. So that concrete area would take care of that problem as well. And the final aspect of this project is to add a drain in the middle of the cart path beside 1 tee box, which would hook into our drain at 9 green and shoot the water off the course. That will alleviate our water issue. The cart path will be sloped to where it does drain to that drain, and then it gets kicked off the course. Went through a lot of information there. Do you have any questions? Yes.
I do have one. The curbs sound like a really good idea. And I noticed that there are some areas where the sidewalk is gonna be replaced and the curb is gonna be all poured at the same time. Then there are other areas where the curbs are gonna be added to an existing sidewalk. My concern is if those new curbs aren't actually, that existing sidewalk's not drilled.
It should
And-
all be tied into the existing concrete. We
Okay,
talked,
good.
so everything's gonna be, so it's 6-inch concrete reinforced throughout the whole thing.
Yes.
And they're gonna reinforce the curbing as well, tied into existing concrete.
So, okay, they're gonna pin it then, okay.
Yep.
That was my concern, cause it would
That was the
be-
big question I kept asking
Yeah,
him.
good.
Or that was one of the questions I kept asking him. Yeah,
Well,
it'll be
how thick is the existing concrete?
6 inches.
It is?
Yeah.
Really? That's surprising.
And then it's 6 inches, well, okay, so it depends on where you're at. So the new concrete that's been poured, which is like the first 60, 70 feet, is 6 inch. I think then it ties down to 4 inch.
That's what I'm thinking.
But we're putting all the 6 inch because we need to be able to run mowers, or like our fairway mowers, our heavy duty mowers, which weigh a lot. I don't want run over 4
Well, I
inch
heard that
concrete.
it's kind of hard to tie in new curb to 4-inch concrete.
Yeah, so everything we're replacing will be 6 inch.
Okay.
Yeah, and 6 inch curb as well. We don't want a high curb. We just want something that's gonna deter. And if somebody were to take a golf cart over the curb, we don't want something that's gonna smash the pumpkin cover, which would be pretty much the differential of a car. Would smash it and break it. So if we go with the 6 inch, it would be able to clear it with the one tire off, one tire on.
So it's
Sam,
gonna
I-
drain into that little pond by 9?
So we could do it either way. We could drain it from then to that pond, or we could shoot it off to the other side of 6, where that cart path is, and send it down to the spillway. It just depends on which way we wanna go.
So Sam, I just want to make sure I'm understanding right. So on the picture that we have in the packet here,
Yep.
is all this concrete, this is where these curbs are gonna go, right?
Yes.
And that's all newer concrete?
That's all new concrete right there.
And how about clear back here?
No. That's everything that's getting,
Those pictures, like.
so if you go to this picture, right here, you're gonna see a spot where it's heaved up in the back. You'll see a little line, it looks like a line where the concrete meets.
There's the divide between old and new.
Okay.
That will all, there's 2 slabs there that get replaced, and then everything that has either water on it or X's on it is getting replaced, which is everything there.
So where will that drain go?
It's that picture right there.
That's about where it'll.
Yep.
Okay.
It's gonna be it's gonna be right on the opposite side of the ball washer, and we put it there. It's central, and it gets us away from our memorial bench there as well.
Well, these are all items that obviously need to be done. And golf course, it's an asset of the community. So,
That's the first thing you see when you go golfing is that pond,
right, right.
so.
So, if nobody's got any more
Oh,
questions.
I wasn't
Go.
finished yet.
Sure, go ahead.
We were just going to questions. So as you can see in the packet, I have submitted bids from 4 companies. 2 of those companies did not submit bids. One was they were not sure they had enough labor to do the project, and the other was not taking any new project at this time. So out of the 2 bids that I have gotten, I feel the best option is going with Votes Parga. They have great experience with drainage, which is a large problem I want to tackle with this. And they've been really vocal with helping kind of do this project. They came out, they spent a lot of time, they showed me different ideas what they could do. I like their idea with the drain. So I'm asking to accept the bid from Votes Parga to do all the concrete work, curbing, and add a drain in a price not to exceed $21,000. And this project will be completed by April 1st, 2024, which is the start of our golf season.
So, on their quote, it says 19.8,
Yep.
so what's the?
The one thing I am unsure about, and I want some room for, is tying into that drain box on 9. If there's any cracks in that drain box, I'll have to replace it. If there's any cracks in that line, I'll have to replace it, and we'll just do it while everything's dug up. I'm not for sure how much that's gonna cost, but I know it's not gonna go over that 21,000.
I'm good with that.
Good? Brody?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah? Derek? Okay. Well, with that, Mr. Mayor, where's, there. Make a motion to approve the bid from Boats Parga to repair and expand the cart path at 1 T-box and 9 Green and add curbing along the cart path for a price not to exceed 21,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for these improvements at Wedgewood Golf Course. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. One thing before you leave, just to let you know, we've seen drastic improvements with attendance and everything at that golf course and with the numbers, so keep up the good work. We
Will do.
appreciate what you're doing out there.
Thank you.
And keep feeding the bass and those water hazards. Come out and visit. Next item up is our Harvey County 2024 EMS Grant Memorandum of Understanding, and I believe Mr. Lowe is here to address this evening.
I want to let City Manager Reimer start with this.
Yes, you have the MOU there, how this kind of came about. And, we essentially talked to the agencies, got together and, funding just continues to be an issue facing all EMS departments, EMS providers. The struggles we see both in terms of the cost for medical supplies, as you all know. When we accepted the new ambulance bid, that was exceeding even what we were allowing for with inflation and the build out. The county historically has uses a formula provided for under state statute that provides funding for departments because the county itself does not run an EMS department. Typically, and this year, we expect to get about a 7% increase. That's largely driven by valuation and then population as well. So agencies went and basically asked cooperatively for the commission to consider additional funding. What came forth was $350,000 beyond those normal appropriations that have always been in the county's budget. And then I'll let Andy talk about kind of how they came about, and I can weigh in after his if there's any questions regarding.
The main issue on this boiled down to staffing on all 4 active licensed ambulance services in the county. We met several times as a group, as the chiefs, and then we met with City Administrator Schwartzendruber with our concerns. We brought in the city managers and city administrators at that time. He had us get several numbers together for them, a lot of data to go over. We actually had to break it down pretty thoroughly to what were the calls in the county. For us, what were the calls in Sedgwick, what were the calls in Halstead, looking at what our current staffing models were. What it boiled down to is the county realized all of the agencies had some staffing issues going on with that. They came up with their $350,000, had the 4 agencies get back together and say, okay, here's the money. How do you guys want to divvy that out? It is earmarked for staff salaries only. They made sure that caveat was there. We can't just go frivolously spend the money. In our meeting, Deputy Chief Newton brought up that we had some weak issues out in the county, so Newton Fire EMS foregoed their share of the money to divvy up the other 3 departments to bolster the surrounding areas. So we didn't have another issue like we had down south. They wanted to get the other areas beefed up first. With that, they broke the funding up. $140,000 went over to Burton Consolidated District 5 to hire a full-time and bring some part-time people on to get their staffing back up to speed. $140,000 went to the city of Heston, and $70,000 was earmarked to us. How we did that was that brings Heston and us to both 6 full-time employees. Heston and us pretty much run fairly close on the number of calls we do, and we wanted to get our 2 agencies brought up to staffing. So that's how that number breakdown came about with who got what share of that funding. So with that, that would allot one full-time position. It's preferred it's an ALS position, but the commissioners understood that sometimes we don't get that when we do the applicants and the interviews. So we are allowed to go with an EMT, but we need to exhaust the ALS applications. We can't just jump right to EMT first. We have to exhaust all the ALS applications first. Right now, we still have our 1 open slot just because of our short-lived contracts from down south. I had visited with Ethan. We have still not filled our 1 open full-time slot just because, like I told you guys before, I don't want to hire Dennis and then December 31st tell Dennis, well, sorry, that finally fell through. I'm letting you go. I don't feel that's right to do to somebody. So I visited with Manager Reimer. We'll use the county funds to get our full-time slot filled. And then what we're still kind of playing with on the other one to run part-time shifts so we don't have that locked in and we can get those weak holes filled using some part-time shifts as that goes, with the understanding we don't make sure that nobody exceeds that 1,000-hour mark due to capers and overtime and some of that other stuff. Does that sound correct, Ethan?
Yeah. One question I have, Andy, and it's just because I don't know. Once you're at that EMT level, what does it take to make that jump to be an ALS provider?
Additional class, you can either go to the EMTA course or you can go straight into the paramedic course.
What's the time frame on one of those courses and the cost of it? And could this grant funding be used to do that, to send an EMT to school?
If we cannot get it through, that is something that we would have to present to Administrator Schwartzengruber to get county approval. That did get discussed a little bit at the commission meeting I was at last week when they signed off on their portion of this.
Well, I'd just hate to turn away a good, solid candidate because of that. I know myself and another guy that could put a little leverage on him if we did have the right candidate come forward, so.
Right, and I always keep, as we've done before with contracts, I always keep some money back if we find a good fit that, yes, this person would make a good medic, or I can put them at the advanced EMT level. We've got some funding to start the school process, plus if that goes to move in, we can apply to the Board of EMS for an educational grant that'll pick up a chunk of that as well. So we have contingencies to move that forward should it happen.
Good deal, good deal.
Do you have a question? It refers to this grant. They're applying for it annually, and they're talking about giving it to us, but there could be a point in time where we don't get this.
Correct.
So we have somebody on staff now where we're counting on funding from the county to pay this individual, but now we're not gonna get it, and we still have this individual we need to either let go or have on staff, and city's gonna have to cover that.
Right.
So what, do we have plans for this if that happens?
We always have that risk, like here, that the county does it. We get 2 new commissioners that just want to shake the whole box up. I was at this point, the commission's pretty sure and safe that we've got at least a 3 to 4 year. They want to make sure this keeps continuing. Commissioner Haig made it very clear that he does not want to get into the county EMS business, that they can't afford it, and it's a nightmare. So they're going to go out of their way to try to keep the 4 agencies shored up the way they are. Short of us as a contingency building a budget just as a backup to slowly add each year to it to get it in there, that was the only way I could see that guarantee at that point. Or move some line items around to do some shoring up to make that happen, sir.
with this grant, I mean, we're basically running into the same issue with the unknown of where the contract's going, you know, and that was ours because we allowed, you know, for that to be excised in 1 year, even though it contemplated 2 years. It's that of, do you hire someone knowing? This way, as far as visiting with Andy, we at least know between this funding and the contract funding, we will definitely have funds that we should be able to stipulate someone 12 months. And if and when funding falls through, as we've talked before, even amongst our positions, I mean, we built, before we had the Sedgwick contract, I mean, we only had 4 full-time providers. We went up to 6 at our highest, we're back to 5. I mean, honestly, for the health of the department, for the safety and mental well-being of our full-time staff, I don't think it's advisable for us to try and go back down to 4 ever. I mean, I think we need to at least keep 5. 6 would obviously be preferred. So this at least buys us a little breathing room and puts us in a more secure position where we feel good about advertising a position. But yeah, I mean, nothing is guaranteed to Andy's point. I mean, when we've had discussions, I think they realize especially, and that's why you see, and even the discussions amongst the agencies, you know, Burton was primarily a focus of wanting them to be stabilized. Obviously, if there ever is an issue with Burton, that's gonna put a lot of pressure on us as the closest agency. So that was in some of the give, and then, yeah, like bringing Heston, who wasn't even at our staffing level. I mean, the whole idea is to stabilize, and it was very, very spirit of cooperation. I mean, for Newton to say, recognize, you know, the need in the greater county, and kind of forego, since they have access to greater run revenues than those of us with the smaller and limited runs do. And of course, if and when that ever changes as far as our contract relationship, that's gonna be a whole new wrinkle that's gonna have to be figured out as far as what that does to all the agencies. So,
I honestly think we're going to be fairly well with the county one, but as a side note, we'll at least be good 3 years. We'll at least know what's happening down south and can start making our alterations from there.
Well, I'm glad to hear those things, but another thing that I'm glad to see is that it's actually the Harvey County commissioners that are doing this, and not like us going to them hat in hand and saying, "Can you help us out?" They're helping us out here. So
Ethan and I are probably privy to a lot more meetings that these conversations take place in, and there is definitely a big focus on making sure these EMS services are shored up in the county, and especially Burton. We know they've had some issues over there, and I'm glad to see that something's come along where we can help them out. Now, my question is if we don't renew the contract with our neighbors to the south, will that affect the donation from the county coming our way as far as the dollar amount if we no longer have that contract?
That will only come into play, we would have to revisit the table at that point and see the presentation. We would have to see how the map changes, divvies up. And there's parts of that I'm not ready to discuss publicly.
Understood.
yeah, it wouldn't affect what's under the MOU. That's a definite thing. To Andy's point, it would just be that distribution that might change if the geographic areas served change somehow. So,
does anybody have any other questions or comments?
I think it's a good deal.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with Harvey County for 2024 EMS grant and authorize city manager's signature on behalf of the city of Halstead.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this memorandum of understanding with Harvey County. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. That carries. Thanks, Andy. Thanks
Thanks,
for coming.
gentlemen.
Next item under new business is an elected official orientation work session. When do you want to do that, Mr. Reimer?
well, We, talking to the two new council member elects, either this Wednesday, November 29th, or Wednesday, December 13th, worked best in their availability, trying to get it before that first meeting in January where they'll be sworn in and seated. Staff preference would be the December 13th. We can make this Wednesday work, if that's what we need to do. But December 13th gives us a little time. I don't think there's any major changes we need to make to like the governing body manual that was previously adopted, because we haven't had any major changes in terms of governance or anything like that. But that Wednesday night worked for our two council member elects, and we obviously want to make sure that they're included. We do like, obviously, to try and make it an official work session if we can, and invite all members to come so they can share their experiences with those new individuals as well. And
Are you sure you want us to do that?
I like December,
so, and that would be a Wednesday, I believe.
yeah.
So,
Well, if there's, that okay with everybody?
So I can't guarantee I'll be here, but I'll do my best.
All right. Make a motion to establish a work session for elected official orientation on December 13th,
Second.
6 o'clock?
yeah, sure.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for a work session, December 13th at 6 PM. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. That work session is set. Now, the next item on the agenda is an item we added, and that's the funding request for the land bank.
Yeah, so the land bank, is asking if the city would consider transferring 15,000, over into the land bank fund, just to help kind of build their available budget for projects, the land bank need to pursue. Originally, we funded it with 10,000, and, there's been about a negligible amount added, following the sale of 204 Main, so, we have had a good year in terms of general fund revenue. We would basically just kind of use that disaster contingency line in the general fund, and move 15,000 over into the land bank fund. And then it comes up to the land bank's discretion, so.
Well, with that, Mr. Mayor, we had the discussion earlier. I'd make a motion, city fund an additional $15,000 to the land bank.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to fund an additional 15,000 to the land bank. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That carries, even though that chairman of land bank's kind of hard to get along with. Next, we do have one executive session on the agenda this evening, and I would entertain the motion for that now.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the Halstead City Council recess into executive session to discuss performance review of the city manager pursuant to the personnel matters of non-elected personnel, exception KSA 754319B1, and ask that in addition to the governing body, the following persons join the governing body in executive session: the city manager and city attorney. The open meeting and governing body to reconvene in the city council chambers at 7:55 PM.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to enter into executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Okay, we're in executive session. We'll move to the back room, council. We are back from our executive session. Is there any action to be taken as a result of? Hearing nothing from the council, we'll move on to the report section of the agenda. And that always starts with governing body comments. Tonight, I'll start with you, Derek.
No comments tonight.
Josh?
No.
George?
Thank you, city guys, for helping us out with the snow.
Denise?
That was what my comment was gonna be. Thank you for all the hard work of getting our streets plowed and ready for the sun to do the rest.
Brody?
I'll echo those comments. It's fun seeing people out sledding on the dike the last couple days, and I know my kids had a good time out there, so.
I'll only add, now that Thanksgiving is officially over, I will acknowledge the Christmas decorations I'm seeing. And while driving around today, looking south from 6th and Main, I had a Santa Claus staring me back in the face. It was clear down at the end of Main Street. I don't know who put that up, but it's kind of cool, so. I appreciate the decorations and the effort that the people go through to decorate their homes. That's all I got tonight. So we'll move on to Ethan for the city manager report.
Thank you. Not a lot of updates from the last meeting, just due to the Thanksgiving holiday. Do want to note, and we'll push this out as well via social media, we will delay leaf and limb pickup for 1 week and start that on Monday, December 4th. Due to the winter weather we received this weekend, we would just ask everyone to please, again, have their bag leaves. That's no trash. And limbs that are 14 feet or less curbside on Monday morning, as staff will be making a one-time pass through the city, starting that Monday morning for leaf and limb pickup. Formal closing on the Tebow property occurred on Monday, November 20th. And just a reminder to you all that we purchased the property utilizing a combination of general fund and capital improvement funds. And then we'll reimburse those funds via the bond proceeds when they're received on December 6th. So November financials will reflect that temporary decline in the fund balance. Staff had a preliminary meeting with representatives from Baughman to talk about some potential park improvement plans for both the proposed Oswald Lehman Park and then the Scout Cabin and Scout Park overall. And our goal is to have some of those proposals for you all to review in January or February. And the staff are still waiting for engineering design and inspection proposal from Certified Engineering Design for the proposed capital street work on 9th Street between Spruce and Chestnut. Hopefully we'll have that by the end of December. The Halstead Police Department participated in the matching program with the Halstead Community Foundation to help build the Public Service Scholarship Fund. They added $10,000 to that scholarship fund, which results in a $5,000 match. And we're exploring options to eventually transition that to an endowed fund, which would allow for its existence in perpetuity for the benefit of the Halstead community. The scholarship is funded through bin inspection funds, and it's geared towards students primarily that will go into law enforcement, following that, any other public safety jobs, or finally, public service careers. But it was good to be able to utilize that and build that as a resource and hopefully inspire some of our local students to go into public service, law enforcement, or public safety in general. Reminder that the Christmas jingle will be this Saturday, December 2nd, and the tree lighting is at 6:00 p.m. and there are events starting at 3 p.m. downtown. I want to thank the Public Works crews for getting the holiday decorations up last week. Thanks to the Halstead Chamber and the downtown merchants who participate to make that evening a good event. And the event was also advertised this year on the Highway 50 billboards. So if you have not looked at those, please do next time you're on Highway 50, because we're always looking for feedback as we continue to work on designs. The one we haven't done yet is like the Old Settlers promotion design. So welcome feedback, because the city's kind of driving that process right now. But it's been good, and we've gotten some compliments on those billboards, so. And then this week also has several management team members out for various professional development. Chief Orem will be graduating from Leela Command School and will be earning his Certified Public Manager credential as part of that training. Golf Superintendent Eberly will be at the Kansas Turf Conference, and then I will be attending the Kansas Association of City County Managers Annual Conference. So if you need to get a hold of any of us, probably email this week with those. So that is all I have this evening, unless there are any other questions or concerns.
I'd say lighting on that billboard would be nice.
I can talk
Can't
to
see it
Lamar.
in the dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with all the solar options there are out there now, might be pretty easy to do. All right, council, any other questions for Ethan's reports? Well, that does conclude our agenda, and I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for adjournment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank you, council.